Then the only way a human being can be saved from eternal annihilation is by maintaining control over his own mind while he is on this earth. Is that true?
You have stated the truth perfectly.
Welcome back to River Queen Conjure, Badass Witch exclusive, Oshun Ajay exclusive, and No Narc Network TV. I am the Oracle / Badass Witch, Oshun Ajay. We are on lesson 12, you guys, and the rabbit hole gets deeper, okay? We are getting ready to go into, again, some of the deeper material in the group, so keep in mind that at any point, we can go completely private with the rest of the material. So if you do wish to be privy to all of the material in the No Narc Network, you want to join us in the private No Narc Network on Oshun Ajay exclusive on Patreon or Badass Witch exclusive on Subscribe Star, okay? Again, I'm not going to hold you up, guys. We are on lesson 12. Let's get it.
Those who control and use their minds escape my web. I get all the others as naturally as the sun sets in the west.
Is that all there is to the business of being saved from eternal annihilation? Doesn't what you call your opposition have anything to do with saving people?
I can see that you do think very deeply. My opposition, the power you earthbound call God, has everything to do with the salvation of people from eternal annihilation, and for that reason it is my opposition who provides every human being with the privilege of using his own mind. If you use that power by maintaining control over your own mind, you become a part of it when you give up your physical body.
You died, Chris.
If heaven is a place where you know only joy.
Oh! Boy, I screwed up. I'm in dog heaven.
You're creating an entire world here, from your imagination, from anything you want.
Where you feel no more fear.
I'm gonna drown.
You can't, you're already dead.
Oh.
And anything you can imagine is real.
It's your world! Your world! Your world!
If you neglect to use it, then I have the privilege of taking advantage of the neglect through the law of hypnotic rhythm.
You were with a whore in Boston when your mother died in Machias. Ma was in that crappy old nursing home they tore down last fall, the one where they found the rats in the pantry, right? She choked to death calling your name. Isn't that sweet? But that's all right, Robbie. She's waiting for you in hell, and she's turned cannibal. When you get there, she's going to eat you alive, over and over and over again. Because that's what hell is all about, Robbie. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I think in our hearts, most of us know that. Catch!
Affected by the oncoming storm. The forecast calls for destruction tonight, death tomorrow, and Armageddon, and Armageddon by the weekend. This could be the end of life as we know it.
Seems unlikely, but we can always hope.
And we're back in just a moment. Stay with us.
How much of a person do you take over when you gain control of him?
Everything that is left after he ceases to control and use his own mind.
In other words, when you gain control of a person, you take over all there is of his individuality up to the time that he quits using his own mind. Is that correct?
That is how I operate.
I hate the way they portray us in the media. If you see a black family, it says they're looting. See a white family, it says they're looking for food. And you know it's been 5 days because most of the people are black. And even for me to complain about, I would be a hypocrite because I've tried to turn away from the TV because it's too hard to watch. I've even been shopping before even giving a donation. So now I'm calling my business manager right now to see what is the biggest amount I can give, and just to imagine if I was down there, and those are my people down there. So anybody out there that wants to do anything that we can help with the setup, the way America is set up to help the poor, the black people, the less well off as slow as possible. I mean, this is, Red Cross is doing everything they can. We already realize a lot of the people that could help are at war right now, fighting another way, and they've given them permission to go down and shoot us.
And subtle, but in even many ways more profoundly devastating, is the lasting damage to the survivors' will to rebuild and remain in the area. The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Poe Chris Tucker don't know what to say, okay? So basically at this time, Kanye was still, partly Kanye. I don't know. It almost seems like at that time he was struggling even then with, trying to express his own feelings versus someone or something else having control over his own thoughts. He was, however, able to express his own thoughts and emotions at that time. Okay. And again, right after he did, you can see they cut to Chris Tucker, and Chris Tucker has that look on his face because he knows.
You know you done fucked up, don't you? You know it, don't you? No, you done fucked up. No, you done fucked up. No, you done fucked up.
So people in Hollywood, such as Kanye and Chris Tucker and the other people involved, have been dealing with the devil, and they know his tactics very well, okay? So, when Kanye began to speak too freely against the establishment and the devil's co-workers, then, just like I said, Chris Tucker and everyone else knew that, Kanye had to be shut down, okay? So by some method, okay, and we can talk about the movie Get Out and how that's a real thing. We can talk about mind control, the MK Ultra, Monarch mind control program. We can talk about trauma-based mind control that started with the CIA. These are all the same things, okay? And, we can go into that. But the point is, at some point, the quote-unquote devil and his co-workers knew that they had to gain control over Kanye's thoughts because he was thinking too freely and thinking too much. So, by whatever method that it happened, and like I said, we can discuss a lot of things, such as Get Out and the Monarch, mind control and the CIA mind control tactics. But the point is that at some point, his mind was completely usurped by something that is not who he used to be. And he comes back with a completely different rhetoric that is completely contradictory to who and what he was before. Check it out.
For 400 years? For 400 years? That sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? It's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery is blacks. So prison is something that unites us as one race, blacks and whites being one race. That we're the human race.
Do you feel that I'm feeling, do you feel that I'm being free and I'm thinking free?
I actually don't think you're thinking anything. You're thinking anything. You're thinking anything.
What do you do with people whom you control before death? Of what good are they to you while they live?
I use them, or what is left of them after I take charge, as propagandists to help me prepare the minds of others to drift.
Was sporting a Make America Great Again hat.
This hat, it gives me power in a way. It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Rap Lauren, looks up to American industry guys. Non-political, no bullshit. Put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done.
You not only fool people into destroying their power to control their own minds, but you use them to help you trap others?
Yes.
This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest planes, the best factories. If he don't look good, we don't look good.
I let no opportunity get away from me.
I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah. Come here. Yeah.
Let us come back to the subject of hypnotic rhythm. Tell me more of how this law works. Show me how you use individuals to help you gain control over others. I want to know something of the most effective way you use hypnotic rhythm.
Oh, that is easy. The thing I like best is to fill the minds of people with fear. Once I fill one's mind with fear, I have little trouble causing him to drift until I have entangled him in the web of hypnotic rhythm.
What human fear best serves your purpose?
The fear of death.
Why is the fear of death your favorite weapon?
Because no one knows, and by the very nature of the laws of the universe, no one can prove definitely what happens after death. This uncertainty frightens people out of their wits.
Most natural-born witches or spiritualists don't really have this fear of death because inherently we know that it's not real. Most of us are able to see into the spiritual realm and have had supernatural experiences our entire lives. Okay, so we don't have this inherent fear of death, but the average person who cannot see into the spirit realm does have this fear. I was 16 when I lost my first loved one to death, and it was my best friend who was 19 years old at the time. And I remember being very angry at the Creator God and needing an explanation that would make sense to me. Church people and people saying, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away and all that bullshit. It was not helping me. It was not consoling me. It was not giving me peace about the situation. I was angry at God. And so because I spent a lot of time alone anyway, I demanded from God an answer. And the answer came to me in the form of, first of all, the first thing that I was led to do was go to a few scriptures, okay? And the only one that I remember very distinctly was the 23rd Psalm. So this is how I know that there is truth in the Bible. However, I'm not a Bible thumper. And I only believe about 50% of the words in the Bible. Okay. So, but anyway, I did find comfort in the scriptures that I was led to, and they basically were preparing me to segue into beginning to read about near-death experiences. The book that we had at my house was called Embraced by the Light by Betty Jean Eady. Okay. And she was the very first author that I had ever read who talked about near-death experiences. Since then, I've probably read just about every author who talks about it. And because I've always been able to see in the spirit ever since I can remember, I knew that these people were not lying. We'll talk more about near-death experiences in the group, and I'll actually make a video for YouTube as well. But I am going to go ahead and show you guys a clip of Betty Jean talking about her near-death experience. And I do encourage you all, if you feel led, if you are interested, to continue your own independent study of near-death and out-of-body experiences, because it will help you to overcome this inherent fear of death that the devil uses to draw you in before or after leaving the physical body. Okay, here's Betty.
In 1973, I was in a hospital for hysterectomy, and I hemorrhaged and experienced my death. It was during that time that I experienced the other side. Some people call it heaven, and I refer to it as heaven because it was so heavenly and beautiful. I had to enter the hospital the day before the surgery. And so after Joe left and they start doing all the pre-op things to you, getting ready for the morning surgery, I was very frightened. I'd never been in a hospital for surgery ever in my life. During the surgery, I hemorrhaged, and they were able to repair that. Afterwards, I was fine and was placed in a regular room after recovery. During the evening, I hemorrhaged again, but it was at a time when the nurses were not in the room. It was during that 4 hours that I died. I knew that I didn't have any blood in me somehow. And I was very frightened. I looked at the clock. It was almost 9:30. And then I felt my body just closing in. And then there was this strange sensation in my chest. Well, I didn't know what it was, but I felt this strangeness in my chest. And then all of a sudden, there was a pop, and I was out. It was almost as though some gigantic magnet was over my body and just pulled me out. And I rose up to the ceiling. Then I flipped around to look back down. And I could see this body laying there. And at first I didn't know that the body was mine. And I came down close to take a look. And I thought, oh my God, I'm dead. I thought of my husband, I thought of my children, and I wanted to go home and see them. And as I thought of that, I looked around to try to find an exit. I saw the window and I thought, okay, I'll go there. So I went through the window, traveled home, went right on in the house, and there was my husband sitting in a chair, his feet propped up, reading the newspaper, and my kids were running up and down the stairs, tossing pillows and playing around. And I looked at the clock and it was 10:15. I thought, I made him promise that he'd put the kids to bed, and he didn't do it. It was amazing. As soon as a person comes out of their body, there's not one moment of lost consciousness. You can hear people talk. You can even feel what they're thinking. I remember when I was in the garden going to this beautiful, beautiful pond. And the water was just like a mirror. It was glass. It looked like glass, but there was like little lights that shimmered above it. And it wasn't just light reflecting off of the water. It was the water reflecting life. I caught my reflection, which startled me. I remember thinking that if everyone could get a glimpse of the beauty of their own spirit, what a wonderful world this would be. It's difficult to come back to this earth after having had that experience and then to live this mundane life. I went into depression. Over time, I overcame that, and I thought, you know, this isn't doing me any good or anyone else any good. And I began to follow my heart. When you ask me, what's it like, I put myself back there so I can feel it again. And as soon as I feel it, it's an emotional thing. I mean, I immediately feel the tremendous love and the beauty of it. I know that everyone who passes from this earth is going to experience what I experienced. I see every movie that has to do with the afterlife because it excites me and it makes me feel closer to the world where I've traveled to. I'm so excited that near-death experiences are handled in a very sensitive and interesting way in this movie. It touches down on various things that I experienced. There is that channel of communication that can take place during a near-death experience that I'm aware of. For her to have a baby would be one of the strongest reasons for a mother to access her husband, to let him know that this child is alive and well. When you feel her trying to reach him, you know that she's desperately seeking his attention for some reason. What could be more important?
There are tons of other testimonies from people of every age group, from as young as 3 years old up to 90 years old and beyond, okay? So I suggest that you guys do continue your own independent study of NDEs and also OBEs, okay? Because it will help you to overcome your inherent fear of death, understanding that your true identity is the spirit being life itself will not, because it cannot die, okay?
People who give over their minds to fear, any sort of fear, neglect to use their minds and begin to drift. Eventually, they drift into the whirlpool of hypnotic rhythm, from which they may never escape.
So knowing that the devil uses the law of hypnotic rhythm to draw you into this loop of repetition that becomes your own personal hell, what we're going to do is we're going to reverse the effects of this law by using it in our own way. Welcome to your soul, to your soul. I invite you to dance, and enjoy this audio, visual experience. This is Hypnotic Rhythm. Bring that shit in reverse. I love this shit. Yeah. There are no limits. Just listen and just feel. And just listen and just feel. There are no boundaries. And just feel. And just listen and just feel. You are infinite and plugged in to the source. So dance. When you are dancing, you are God. Enjoy. Yes, this is receive. The end of lesson 12, you guys. The full hypnotic rhythm meditation is in the private No Narc Network group. If you wish to join the group, the links to Oshun Ajay exclusive and Badass Witch exclusive are in the description box. If you wish to see how the narcs are being slayed out here in these YouTube streets, subscribe to No Narc Network TV on YouTube. And until we meet again, my people, keep it classy. Keep it clean, and do what you got to do to make shit happen. Peace.